Welcome to Component 5, Communicating with the Other Parent. This is Dr. Dorenzo again. All right, let's talk about communication. This is really important and where parents that are divorcing or divorced start having the most difficulties. So communication is the most important characteristic in a co-parenting relationship. Now, let's think about this. Probably in your marriage, you had trouble communicating. So now somehow you're going to figure out how to communicate now that you are divorced. So that's certainly the challenge, because I couldn't get you to be how I wanted you to be when we were married. Now I'm going to try to get you to be this way when we're divorced. So this takes lots of patience for both of you. All right, many times the parents in this relationship will not get along, okay, and of course have this history of not getting along. When this is the case, it is important to keep in mind the well-being of the child and to always give the other parent information that you will want to know. When the parents do not communicate with each other, it can have harmful effects on the child, such as failing to inform the other parent about recently discovered allergies or newly prescribed medication or any other medical problems, or even academic problems for that matter. Parents should always act in the best interest of their child, but without proper communication, the child may be harmed. It is helpful and important to treat the relationship with a former spouse as a relationship between business partners, meaning that it should be professional, focused on the child, the business, and be cooperative. So, if you just think about this, the concept, it's just business. I mean, you take care of the child, send the right information, make sure that everything's taken care of, and make sure the child's happy and safe. Okay, you deliver that child, that sweet child of yours, and make sure the child has all of its needs when it goes to the other parent. Tips to help this type of communication are: be brief, pleasant, and businesslike. Keep the focus of the conversation on the child. So the past, what happened that week, the present, how they're doing, how they're feeling, if there are any issues, and any future events. Don't overreact. Don't use rude language, sarcasm, profanity, demands, or accusations. And use courteous language, please and thank you. Okay, focus on the positive. Cooperating with your co-parent shows you care, or shows your care and you care for your child. There are many tools to accomplish this communication, such as text messages, telephone calls, and emails. Text messages allow for quick communication of the basic routine information. For example, text letting your co-parent know what time that you are dropping off the child. However, text messages do a poor job of conveying details, emotions, and are sometimes unreliable, so it's important to not use texting for important information that needs a more interactive conversation, such as talking about the child's medical record. Telephone calls can be a useful tool as long as the parents are able to converse without conflict. It may be useful to set aside a time of day to make phone calls to the other parent, so it does not disrupt the custody time of the co-parent. Remember, parents often are very sensitive about their time with the child, especially if they're the ones with the minority of time. Emails are very useful due to the fact that they are quick, effective, and they create a record of your communication. It may be helpful to agree on how frequently each parent will send, check, and respond to emails. While composing an email, it is important to keep the message short, one paragraph. I often tell parents 3 sentences. Clear, limited to one topic, and professional, as previously defined in the second paragraph. It is also crucial to include a specific subject line so that the other parent will be able to distinguish it from other emails they may receive. It may be helpful to create an email address specifically for co-parent communication. Step-parents should not be included in email conversations between the two biological parents unless given permission, in order to avoid conflict. Now, regarding the step parents, this often comes into play where maybe you're really busy and you're relying on the step parent to deliver information for you, and your former spouse will know your writing style and will know that it's your step parent that is providing the information, or during your next conversation you may not know what had been communicated, and that may lead to conflict. So you be in charge again, unless the step parent has been given permission to be involved as well. Before I talk about this, I want to talk about our family wizard, and there are some other tools too that really serve as a repository for communication that document everything, that allow parents to communicate with each other by messages, and then you get a notification on your phone that says there's a message. But it's a place where parents can share different information about the kids, calendars, documents, and things like that. It's called Our Family Wizard. All right, another tool that may be useful in a co-parent relationship is a child news report. This tool can be as simple as a notebook that is transferred between each parent. To make use of this tool, simply make a new dated entry in the notebook describing the time you spent with your child. Some information that can be included is feeding, sleep schedules, moods, medical information such as injuries, medication, and injuries again, school events, social events, developmental milestones, and behavioral disciplinary issues. A 12-month calendar may also be useful to avoid co-parenting problems. The calendar may include custody times of each parent, school breaks, holiday schedules, and vacation plans. It's important to inform the other parent of any additions or changes to the calendar. Now, on the internet, you can also find some information. There are actually workbooks in different forms that parents can use that provide a template already for a lot of these things that you can pass back and forth to each other. Usually well for infants. So you can talk about what nap times and what the child ate, and if there's a diaper rash, or just description of how medication needs to be administered. Communication about medical care of the child, speaking of, is extremely important and should be treated as so. Continuing the current medical routine with the usual medical provider is typically best for the child. However, changing medical providers may become necessary. Frequently, both parents will want to be present at medical appointments. However, this may not be in the child's best interest due to possible conflicts at the medical office. These conflicts could cause the office to put restrictions on the child's visits or refuse to provide their services to the child. It is extremely important to communicate instructions about a child's injuries, illnesses, and treatments to the other parent, so in case of an emergency, each parent will know how to react. If an emergency is to occur, it is vital to contact the other parent shortly after the incident. And I mean shortly after the incident, not 24 hours, as immediately as you can, in order to communicate the child's condition, the nature of the emergency, the location of the child, and the contact information of the professional overseeing the emergency. So 2 points about the medical care. You absolutely want to communicate as soon as possible if there's an emergency situation. And second of all, say that you typically have been responsible for the child, and now there are medical appointments, and now all of a sudden the other parent is showing up at all the healthcare appointments. And you're just irate. What are they doing in here? They're typically never involved, and now they're acting like they're this perfect parent. You do not want to be the parents that everybody knows about at the medical office, and because at a medical office, if there's conflict between the two of you, they will not see you anymore. They will pass you on to somebody else. And if you've had a long-standing relationship with them, you certainly want to maintain that for your child's sake. All right, communicating about education of the child is also extremely important. It is necessary to discuss the specifics of the child's schooling, including but not limited to progress reports, school schedules, school contact information, online login information, educational information, and the child's school planner. It's the school's responsibility to list both parents' names and information on the child's school records. However, it's the parent's responsibility first to provide both names to be listed. And this often comes up in social investigations or custody evaluations where one parent refuses to identify the other parent as the parent in the emergency section. In the school record, again, it's really important to co-parent and to ensure that the other parent has equal opportunity to those positions, and also that the other parent gets called in the event that there is an emergency. It shouldn't be your mother on the list, it should be the other parent. And again, just as in a doctor's office, you don't want to have conflict at the school. You do not want to be the parents that school talks about. Okay, you want little Johnny or little Susie to get all the care and be treated kindly at the school, and you don't want the parents talking about you and your former spouse. All right, more. So it is normal for two parents to have different ideas and opinions about child rearing, discipline, schooling, and all the other topics that surround raising children, which is one reason why you probably got divorced. If parents do not communicate respectfully with each other and do not have a good strategy for resolving conflicts, the result is chronic conflict between the parents. The result, an ongoing hostile emotional tone between the parents, which continually erupts over time. The conflict never goes away, the same anger surfaces, the same confrontations are repeated. This harmful conflict can range from yelling, criticizing, blaming, and put-downs to physical violence such as slapping, kicking, hitting. Let's talk about the negative impact on children's mental health because of your conflict and your failure to communicate. Research shows that children are highly adaptive in general and can cope with and adapt to difficult situations, such as separation and divorce. What severely damages them, though, is the bitter, long-lasting, ongoing conflict between parents. The longer the parental conflict continues and the greater the tension between parents, the greater the chance that your children will be negatively impacted. Please read on to understand the negative impact that your conflict will have on the children, as well as the benefits of keeping them shielded from conflict. So, negative impact on children's mental health. What is very destructive psychologically for children is for them to continually to be exposed to conflict among parents. What psychological difficulties can you expect to see if you expose your children, and hopefully not, to ongoing conflict and negative messages about the other parent? Emotional and behavioral problems, depression, sleep-related problems, anxiety. Okay, this often comes where they don't want to go to school. Okay, often happens where they don't want to go to school or be around other people. Low self-esteem, so they're hesitating now. School problems, they can't focus at school, not doing well. Their grades start suffering and they become disruptive. Children feel unsafe. Chronic parental conflict and talking negatively about the other parent creates a family environment that is chaotic, disruptive, and full of tension, rather than one that is safe, secure, and comfortable. How will your child feel in an unsafe environment? Well, they'll be anxious, frightened, and helpless, or feel helpless. They may worry about their safety and their parents' safety, even in the absence of physical violence. They just feel in the air that things are not safe. They feel the tension. And they may imagine harm coming to themselves or to you, or to their siblings, or to their animals. Children worry about taking sides. You guys got to listen up about this. They worry that they will have to take sides in the conflict. They want to please both parents, and if both parents are in conflict, they are put in an impossible situation which creates stress for the children. They truly become caught in the middle, or they may align with one parent against the other, which is very destructive and unhealthy for all the family members. Children feel guilty. As we've discussed in previous sections, children often believe they are responsible for the fighting that goes on between the parents, especially if they hear arguments related to them. And as parents, we argue about the kids. schooling, medical issues, friends, discipline, okay? This causes so much emotional distress for children. And again, I mean, they blame us for fighting, or they blame themselves for us fighting, and they blame themselves for the divorce very often. 5, poor role modeling for children. Children learn lessons about how to get along with others from how their parents get along with each other. If parents only model unhealthy ways to communicate and resolve problems, most likely this is how their children will communicate and solve problems with others as they grow up and have relationships of their own. Be a good role model for your children, even if you feel justified in your anger, hostility, and conflict. Okay, your relationship with your spouse and what happened, your former spouse, is none of your child's business. Okay, that's between you and your spouse, so don't put your child in the middle. Quality of parenting decreases. Chronic parental conflict increases stress on parents, which can result in decreased use of effective parenting skills over time, with a resulting negative impact on children. You know, when we're stressed out and we're in deep conflict with our former spouse, we don't pay attention to our kids as much. Right? Our mind is occupied. We're constantly obsessing or thinking about how we're going to handle certain situations or how we're going to hurt the other parent. Number 7, parent-child relationship may suffer. It is healthy for children to develop a relationship with both parents, regardless of how the parents feel about each other. Children need to be allowed to have these relationships free from conflict from either parent. If a parent constantly hears bad things, or it should say if a child constantly hears bad things about one parent from another, the danger is that the parent-child relationship of the criticized parent may weaken. This can also work in the other direction, since a child may grow to resent the criticizing parent for criticizing their other parent. This is especially true as the children grow older and understand adult relationships more. I mean, think about it. When you're criticizing the other parent, you're criticizing the child. I mean, that child is half the other parent. So children often internalize that criticism. What can you do about chronic parental conflict? Shield your child from destructive parental conflict. It's your job for both of you to be heroes here. Verbal hostilities between parents can affect children in very negative ways. No name calling, no harsh criticism, no blaming. Be aware that phone calls can be overheard. Parents need to restrain themselves and control emotions when children are present or within hearing range. Parents often believe that my kids have no idea what's happening as we're breaking up. But kids often, they know their parents are getting divorced. They know they're fighting. They know that they're still fighting even after they're divorced. Kids are highly perceptive. Parents minimize their perception. Learn and practice healthy communication skills. Expressing ideas and feelings, active listening, problem solving, negotiation, and conflict resolution strategies will all help you communicate with your spouse. Modeling respect for others, compromising, and cooperation are invaluable learning experiences you can provide for your children. Give your child some information. Children need to know a little of what's going on between mom and dad when there is conflict. You can be honest with your child in a brief and reassuring way. Do not provide long explanations or conversations about an issue. Kids hate lectures. But rather a brief explanation that mom and dad are not in agreement on a particular matter and that we are working it out. Make sure they don't have to worry. Tell them you don't have to worry about this. Don't criticize the other parent in front of your child. Children find it very hard to hear criticism of their parent. When you criticize the other parent, you are making your child feel guilty about loving the other parent. Same goes when they hear a parent talking to others about the other parent. Okay, so even with other family members, do not talk negatively about your former spouse. Don't make children your confidants. Leaning on your child for support is very damaging to them and can lead to long-term problems. Children need to see and hear that you are in control of things and know what you are doing. Help your child deal with anger. Anger is a normal emotion that comes with divorce. Children need to learn strategies to be able to express and control anger appropriately. There are books, resources, and professionals, such as myself, that can help children deal appropriately with anger and help you. Speaking of, seek professional help. Individual counseling or therapy, counseling for children, parenting coaching and education, psychologists, family mediators, parenting coordinators are all there to help. These resources are available and they're in your community.